I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could have a moment of silence, please. All right, I call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody here and everybody that's watching us. On roll call, I will start with myself. I'm here. Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Mr. Stephen, can you hear us?
Here.
Right. I think Jeff is out.
Here.
And Commissioner Vicky. Oh, you're way ahead of me. Thank you. Okay, on public comment, this is for the, not the end one. I know some of y'all scheduled for the end. This is for the 3-minute thing. Is there any, Mark, is anybody? I didn't see anybody on that one. Oh, okay. Before we go into administrative business, I'd like to take the time to read a proclamation. Whereas the President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring the slaves in Confederate territory free, paving the way for passing the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. And whereas word about the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation was delayed some 2.5 years to June 19, 1865, and reaching authorities and African Americans in the South and Southwestern United States. And whereas the Emancipation Day observations are held on different days in different states in South and Southwest and other parts of the nation. And whereas June 19 has a special meaning to African Americans and is called Juneteenth, combine the words June and 19th, and has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. Now, therefore, I, Mike Smith, Chairman of Leavenworth County, Kansas, do hereby declare June 19th, 2021 as Juneteenth in the county of Leavenworth, Kansas, and urge all citizens to become more aware of the significance of this celebration in African American history and the heritage of our nation and county. In witness here, whereof I have said my hand and cause the civil of Leavenworth County, Kansas, to fix the 16th day of June, 2021. Mike Smith, Chairman of Leavenworth County. Okay.
Do you think that Jimena Schultz would like to?
Yeah, let's see you. Sure. How you doing? I see you. Come on up. I had my head down. I'm sorry I didn't see you. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Well, I'd like to thank the commissioners in Leavenworth County for this great honor. As you know, Juneteenth is of great significance to our African American community, and as we continue to celebrate and move forth in this country, we look forward to next year having an in-person big celebration citywide, and we hope everybody will be there. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time.
We're looking forward to having your dinner this year also.
Yes.
We are going to have that
Yes,
in person.
we will. Later in the year. Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I'm glad the county did this proclamation, and I think that when we revisit our holidays, we may want to look at our holiday schedule and see
Absolutely.
if we can incorporate this into a holiday.
Sure.
County
I agree.
employees.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Okay, administrative business. Designate voting delegate for the 2021 NACO annual conference.
Well, Commissioner Culverson was pretty instrumental in getting NACO representative in here to discuss, and that we voted to join. And he's been involved in NACO, so my recommendation would be Commissioner Culverson. I know that's not fair that he's not here today.
Oh, I think it is fair. I think it's the way we should do it.
I think it's I think that's
I mean, if
appropriate.
he wasn't involved with it,
I know.
and
I
I
agree.
wouldn't have mentioned it.
I know.
But
I agree, Doug. I'll second that.
okay.
And any discussion? Okay. Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, very good. Mark, you have anything you'd like to address the commission on?
I do not have anything under public comment, Commissioners.
Okay. Right, if that's the case, I'd like to move on to consent agenda.
We need to remove the check registry from the consent agenda.
Motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda minus the check registry.
Second. Any discussion? Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Now let's bring it back on.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the check registry.
Seconded. Starting with me. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Formal board action. Consider a motion to authorize EMS to order and purchase high-fidelity mannequin from Gummart. Jamie, all yours.
Good morning, Commissioners. In front of you is a proposal and request to authorize the EMS department to order and purchase high-fidelity mannequin. High-fidelity mannequins are becoming more popular, obviously, in the medical field and the training aspects. As we're growing our training, it was apparent also during COVID of not being able to utilize individuals for training because of the close hand-to-hand. This will allow us to continue training as well as do some of the more high-fidelity procedures, if you will, into our training locally at Leavenworth County. So we have the opportunity with some additional funding that was available through local COVID funds that came through just the EMS department. Those funds have to be spent by the end of the month, of this month. We did get the extension, and it is an authorized purchase. So my recommendation is we take advantage of this and be able to bring this type of equipment into Leavenworth County.
Any discussion? I have none whatsoever, Doug.
No.
Mr. Stephen, you have anything? I think we might have lost him. Oh, with none being said, I'll take a motion to approve.
Okay, motion to authorize EMS to order and purchase a high-fidelity mannequin from Gummart.
Second. Hey, Mike, are you back?
Yeah.
Okay, we're on the Jamie Miller's approval for equipment. None of the other commissioners have any issue. We're on the vote right now, so just to let you know, I start the voting with aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
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 All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, consider a motion to accept a bid for the Juvenile Detention Center conversion project. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you today?
Good.
Before you guys, you should have the bid tab of how the applicants and contractors came in on there. I put it as I did not have a formal recommendation, only for one issue. The low bid is a new company. While the owner-operator, Mr. Gore, has an extensive construction history of 29 plus years, this would be his first contract under Paratrave. I reached out to former companies that he had worked with, which would be a Park Hill School District, and they responded back that he was a senior project manager of a $110 million no-tax bond, that he was always professional. Their projects were generally on time and on budget, even with the record rainfall they received in 2019, but they couldn't speak to his new role in the new company. With this being a new company, I wanted to present it to you guys. We do have factors that protect us with our bonds, Serenity Bond, Maintenance Bond, but before I recommend a company that has no experience, I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that.
Thank you. Comments?
My comment is that a new company has to have some place to get experience. I mean, every company that is new is going to be a new company, and as long as there are some references that we would be able to, that we did look at and make contact with to make certain that there is a record, established and that there's the bonds are in place, then I don't have a problem with allowing opportunity, personally.
The bid bond was turned in with it. When we go through contract work and items like that, the serenity bond, the maintenance bond will be instituted as well. It was just reference-wise, we had 0 to go off of.
Sure.
They were the low bid on a Merriam shelter, but it has not been awarded yet as well, so this would be the first awarded. I was just wanting to make sure you guys were aware of it.
Mark,
I have no problem letting somebody get a start.
No, I agree with what Vicki said. I just got a question for you, Mark. We have a couple of Leavenworth County businesses here, too. Our incentive, or do we have
5%, and they did not fall within the 5% range, sir.
Okay.
The principle on this, Aaron and I have discussed this, and the principle on this is also a licensed mechanical engineer. He's worked on the Park Hill project that we were able to check, but he also was
IKEA. He used to work for Universal Construction, which is a very large outfit.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's just, I wanted to make sure you guys were well aware of it's a start.
Yes, but someplace has to start, and sometimes it's good to be your proving ground because you have everything to prove.
Well, the person was actually hands-on, actually
Right.
did the work.
Right.
And managed the project. So
Right.
I have no problem with it.
Mike, you got any comments?
The only thing I was looking at here was the numbers are significantly lower on their bid. Any explanation for that?
Other than possibly overhead, no. I don't know how they came up with their numbers. Everybody received the same bid packet. Everybody received the same addendums that we had after a walkthrough with general contractors. It was a highly looked at. We had 11 applicants come out and look at it. We had 6 put bids in on it. Other than the possibility of an overhead issue, hopefully he is well aware of his calculations.
Well, on top of that, Vicki might have said it right, too. Jumping off a new business, something like that, we want to hit ground running. So, anything else, Mike?
No, that's all. Like I said, we're covered by the bonding and everything, so I'm not worried about it in that sense. But I am interested in why the numbers were a little bit more than 10% different.
All righty. Well, with that, I'll take a motion. There's nothing else. Vicki, you want to do it?
Okay, you can do it or me?
Go ahead.
Okay. Motion to accept a bid for the JDC conversion project from to award to Paratrave Innovations in Overland Park, Kansas, not to exceed $190,000.
Got a motion. I'll second it.
Did
I'm sorry.
10%?
I did ask for a 10% fluctuation just because we're knocking down block walls on that JDC, and I'm not sure what's underneath those as we start taking out block walls. I wanted to make sure we don't hit anything that they put in a chase that weren't on the as-builts, which would be an extension of about $19,000 to bring it to a total of $209,000.
Okay, not to exceed awarded bid from 10% contingency for an unknown cost associated with variables not accounted for due to unknown in walls during demolition.
Thank you, ma'am.
To amend my
I'll take that
motion.
second. Motion second. Any discussion? Aye.
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Very good.
I'm going to make a motion, no change orders.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is a change order, though.
Okay. Item number C, consider a motion to approve Resolution 2021 and 18 amending Articles 41 and 43 to Leavenworth County zoning and subdivision regulations. Fresco?
Good
morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. How are you all? This is a request to approve Resolution 2021-18. This resolution includes items from Article 41, the Access Management Policy, and Article 43, the Cross-Access Management Easement, in our zoning and subdivision regulations. I had this before you 2 weeks ago for approval, and there was some contention about whether or not, or how the roadway spacing requirements with a T intersection should be addressed. So the only change in here is under Exhibit C, roadway spacing. We had originally had that either a four-way intersection needed to be created or the driveway spacing requirements need to be met, but it's felt that that was ambiguous. So we have amended this to state that when it can be avoided, the county does not wish to create minimally offset T intersections. If there is a roadway on the opposite side of the proposed road, effort should be made to create either a four-way intersection or provide enough spacing between the proposed and existing roadway for car stacking. The minimum spacing, if line of sight is available, between the proposed roadway and the existing roadway shall be no less than 100 feet. If the development must be reduced by more than one lot to meet this requirement, the developer may locate the proposed intersection at the location that provides the greatest distance possible, but does not impact the proposed available development size.
Looks good.
That's what we asked for.
You ready for a motion,
I'm
Mr.
ready.
Chairman? All right. I move that we approve Resolution 2021-18, amending Articles 41 and 43 of the Leavenworth County Zoning and Subdivision Regulations.
Second?
Motion and second. Any discussion? I'll call the roll. Start myself. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
Ms. Cos?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christie.
Thanks, Crystal.
Hear you there, Mike.
What's that?
He said he didn't hear you at first.
Oh, okay. All right. Consider a motion to approve Resolution 2021-19, endorsement of the projects applied through the 2021 Access, Innovation, and Cooperation Public Transportation Call for Project. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
All right. So for your consideration today, Public Works has been working with Buildings and Grounds and the Council on Aging in the preparation of 3 grant applications through KDOT Transit. And these are the most extensive application processes that I have seen or experienced with KDOT. And so as a part of that, they asked that a resolution be put in place that states that the Board of County Commissioners supports the applications and would be willing to match the 10% funds necessary for the projects if money is awarded towards them. We have applied. We are intending to apply for approximately $2.2 million worth of funding. This funding is for both inside and outside improvements to the Cushing building and some exterior improvements to the annex parking lot in Tonganoxie.
Which one?
The EMS.
EMS.
Oh.
We store.
Also, when we was going to expand the newer annex,
No.
that parking lot.
The EMS one.
Got a lot of business down there.
Yeah, this is just for the EMS parking lot. That's where they store the Council on Aging vehicles, and the parking lot
Right.
is needing
Well, it's
repairs.
been kicked down the road, let's see, 20 years, probably, that it's needed a total rehab.
Yep. And so, and at Cushing, we need a secured parking area. As you guys know, the parking area across the street did not come with the building, and we do have a fairly large fleet of Council on Aging vehicles that we use for our transit services. So the cost, depending on whether they are state funds or federal funds, if they are federal funds, it is 10%. If they do award some state funds, which would specifically be for the interior improvements to the building, which would be required because of the tight time frame that that interior remodel is on, that would be an 80-20. So the range of costs would be between $220,000 and $440,000 for our cost share. These are funds that are going to be expended as a part of some of those projects, regardless of whether we receive this funding or not. So these are costs associated most likely with the improvements that are already going to take place. We're just hoping to find some funding.
So funding's already available is what you're saying, Bill. We're just going to have to take care of it anyway.
I believe
Correct.
so.
Mark? Okay.
Well, the return on investment is going to be pretty quick.
Yep.
I would say we're not paying rent on other buildings and stuff.
I agree. Okay. Any more comments? I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution 2021-19, endorsement of the projects applied for through the 2021 Access, Innovation, and Collaboration Public Transportation Call for Projects.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? I'll start the roll call. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
All right. Moving on down the road like that, I like that. Consider a motion to approve Resolution 2021, replacing the yield sign with a stop sign in Kissinger Road at the intersection of 219th and Kissinger Road. Bill?
So this is an intersection that we have received numerous calls about over the past year since 219th Street had been hard surfaced. There is a belief that the hard surfacing of the roadway has increased the speed of the traffic on 219th Street. The intersection does not meet the traffic warrants for the placement of a stop sign in place of a yield sign. However, there is a berm that does restrict some line of sight that does make it eligible for that transition to a stop sign at that location. Either way, it's just a replacement of one sign within our inventory with another sign, so it's not extensive, and it is something that the public has requested multiple times since that road improvement project.
Prior to the asphalt, you could always see the dust.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you could.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments on this item? None. I'll take a motion.
A motion to improve Resolution 2021-20, replacing a yield sign with a stop sign on Kissinger Road at the intersection of 219th Street and Kissinger Road.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just say that I've had a lot of calls myself on that one, so I think this will improve safety.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. I'll start the roll call. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
Righty.
And I haven't talked to you since the KDOT matching fund on the transportation study.
Mm-hmm.
That all looks good and everything?
Yep, there will be some short agreements that are put in place to solidify the amounts, just so it's in writing. It'll come from their legal department in the next week, or maybe two, depending on how their legal department works. But, yep, and then we're moving forward. So there is a schedule that we have sent out to the cities this morning. I believe you were copied on that as well, Mark. And so we have a schedule for that. It is a 12-month schedule for that study, and it would conclude next September. And so as soon as we have feedback from the steering committee that was formed for the project, I think it would be appropriate to get that sent out to you guys probably either tomorrow or Friday, the schedule of the project.
Well, I think we really need to recognize Greg Cos for all his hard work and the time he's put into this, going to the cities and asking for funding and KDOT, and he's really put in a lot of time and a lot of hard work on that.
Done a great job.
He's done a really good job.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with that completely.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Before we move on, presentation discussion items. Mark, Commissioners, y'all have anything you'd like to bring up before I go to?
Just a reminder that next week, Tuesday, we will start our budget meetings with the departments, and then Wednesday afternoon, if needed, we will wrap up. And then outside agencies would be after that, probably the week after, or depending upon availability.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Doug, do you have anything to say right now?
Just that I attended the conference last week in Liberal, and there was no packet handout. It was all paperless, so I took a lot of improved notes. And but the conference, the material is available on the KAC website, and then one of the real good speakers is on the property management or property appraisals.
That was
a separate one, yeah. But it's all, I got their websites and everything, so we can all access that. Believe it or not, it's the comparable sales is hurting all over the state of Kansas because there is a housing shortage in the state of Kansas. I mean, it's probably worse here, but it is all over. And of course, we had the legislative follow up on that, and there's a lot of bills that got passed that. Everybody says they all support local control, but some of these bills do not support local control. So, anyway, I can talk all day on that, but I won't. So we better move on.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Mike, you have anything?
I just had one question for Mark. Apparently the Kansas statewide emergency order is going to be allowed to lapse.
It already did.
Already did.
Our emergency order is open-ended. What do you see as the future direction for that for the county?
Well, Commissioners, as long as we can continue to take advantage of access to the resources, I think we should leave it open. If we end it, we are no longer eligible to receive for free some of the PPE and stuff like that. That's the only thing we're currently using it for. That and reimbursement for some of the vaccination clinics if we had to have them. So I don't see a need right now to take it down. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Anything else, Mike?
Is there any advantage to taking it down? I mean, and would there what kind of an end game would we have for that?
If we lift the emergency order, we would no longer be able to receive the equipment that we're currently, the PPE equipment, and also eligibility for some of the grant funding that the health department's receiving. So there would be a disadvantage for removing it, but I don't see an advantage for removing it at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Mike. Vicki?
Nothing. I attended Leavenworth City Commission meeting yesterday evening, and that was pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you have additional public comment. I know we got a few people who want to address. Just a reminder, it's a 5-minute time limit on that. We set up years ago. And if you will come to the podium and announce who you are and your address, I appreciate it. The first one I have on is Mac McCowan.
Close enough.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mac.
That's fine, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hey, good morning. My name is Mac McCowan, and I'm an 18-year resident of Leavenworth County, and I currently reside in the city of Leavenworth. I'm here today for 2 reasons. The first is to publicly thank you for having some backbone and adhering to our Constitution when you opted out of the governor's mask mandate. Unlike several of our city commissions, this body voted not to trample on the natural rights of our own citizens. Any government that can force or coerce a healthy citizen to wear a mask can force that citizen to do anything. Many of us knew a year ago that this was a statistically manipulated pandemic intended to induce fear in our populace, which it did. We still have citizens walking around outside by themselves and in their cars wearing masks. We have kids that are fearful of taking their mask off or finding comfort hiding behind them. Thankfully, by your vote, you did not endorse this kind of psychosis. Each day, as more and more information leaks out about this so-called pandemic and its corruption, this county commission has proven more right by your past votes. Using our own health department's numbers, over the past 15 months, 99.93% of our residents have survived. And 99.71% of our residents have not even required hospitalization. The real pandemic we've experienced across our country has been the loss of liberty. This body attempted to prevent that and help prove an old adage true at the same time. He who governs least governs best. And I truly thank you for that. The second reason I'm here is to voice my displeasure with the county election officer and her performance. I invited her to attend this morning.
Wait, excuse me just a second. One of the things that we do here is, if you want to talk about how you didn't like the process, but I don't allow you to attack an individual personally. Now, if you want to rephrase that and say how the process was gone, as I understand, but I just don't think it does any good to attack a person. So if you can take it down that road, I'd appreciate it.
I'll tell you what, that's why I didn't mention her by name. I said the county election.
Well, I understand that.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm not, the process did not go well.
Okay.
So I'm going to voice my extreme displeasure with the process that we've been made to negotiate.
Okay.
I assisted Ms. Cromer, Ms. Workman, and approximately 50 other citizens with the Leavenworth Constitutional Protection Ordinance. This was our grassroots effort to repeal the mask mandates of Leavenworth and Lansing. We have yet to receive a formal rejection letter bearing the election officer's name, and we have not received adequate due process for rejected signatures that we believe to be valid. Case in point, a 20-year military veteran that I personally served with. His signature was rejected as illegible. We easily determined who he was. He signed an affidavit of identity under penalty of perjury. His signature was still not accepted. I have another example that is similar where I personally verified the individual and obtained an affidavit only to have his signature rejected too. These two examples of disenfranchisement should trouble us all, and I will let Ms. Cromer further expand on the extreme challenges we experienced throughout this petition process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. April Cromer. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, April.
How are you? Good. Well, good morning. I'm April Cromer, and I'm a resident of Leavenworth County. The reason we started the petition was to stop government overreach and protect our fundamental rights as U.S. citizens. Since the beginning of the petition, we followed state statutes, specifically KSA Chapter 25, Article 36, and Chapter 12, Article 30. KSA Chapter 25, Article 36 is the only means locally for people to stand up for their rights when government overreach occurs. Churches, schools, small businesses were affected last year, and it could have been stopped if the current city commission would have listened to the will of the people. On January 22nd, I turned in the petition to the city. On January 26th, I was called by the election office indicating that they had accepted 690 signatures, leaving us 5 signatures short for the petition to pass. Please note, we were advised we needed 695 signatures. However, the technical number was 694.5 based on the formula that's given statutorily. So why did it get rounded up to 695? We can't have half of a voter, right? So why not 694? And who determines that? And why should one elected official have the sole power to determine the input when there's circumstances such as this? But subsequently, I was called a few hours before I was going to speak to the City Commission. The Commission knew the election office findings, which resulted in the extension of the mask mandate. The Leavenworth City Commission ignored the will of the people, and the people were disenfranchised by the petition process. On January 27th, I met with the election office and received a line item report that was compared page by page, line by line to this specific petition. Now, mind you, like Max said, I never received a formal letter by the election office with the outcome of the petition election. After 13 hours of auditing, we found 31 discrepancies. We brought these to the attention of the office, but we were told that the results would not change. We were told that the names we provided in conjunction with their own line item report were not rejected. However, we have evidence to show that we have documentation to prove that. So we knew that there was an issue with the process and the reporting. So we requested a list of names that were rejected. On February 4th, we received that report. After auditing and comparing the first report to the second report, there were changes. They removed 3 names and added 2 names from one report to the other. Why? They had already passed the 3-day deadline. From this audit, we found 9 names that we contested, including 2 of the canceled voter lists that we questioned. On February 22nd, we were finally able to meet with the election office to go over discrepancies. We discovered that, but we were met with a lot of disdain. Of the 9 signatures, they accepted 2 more. So when we asked them how many we needed for the petition to pass, they said we still needed 5. I'm not a mathematician, but 690 plus 2 is 692. Now, if we would have had 2, we were 2 shy of the 694.5, or they're 3 shy of the 695 threshold. And after a Cora request, we discovered that 6 of the 9 individuals that we contested did in fact vote in the 2020 election. Mac discussed one elector, and Kirsten will give a few more examples. If we included all the discrepancies that we found, we would have been well over the threshold of the 694.5. Keep in mind, we had signed affidavits under penalty of perjury by each of the electors who were rejected, as Mac indicated. We were given a copy of a summary of each name that we contested, including all the canceled voters. What we found odd was 2 of the canceled voters were removed for this, and I quote, "Voter was removed from registration files during the conversion of the election date." So what does this mean? Was it a system error? Do the voters know that their names were removed during a conversion process? So shifting gears a little bit. So I want everyone to know the Secretary of State indicates that under Election Standards, Chapter 5 petitions, when a petition involves the fundamental rights, they should be interpreted liberally and any restriction be narrowly construed. That's in Klein versus Mize. The signatures were not interpreted liberally, nor were they narrowly construed. On March 22nd, we filed a formal complaint with the Secretary of State's office. We never got a response until I barged in their office one day, and the election office finally provided us with an email response. On April 30th, I actually met with the Secretary of State's office, and it was indicated that we should have received a formal letter of the results of the petition, which we never received. We know there's a need for revision in the current state statutes, and we also know that there's no accountability with the election office. The bottom line is this: citizens have been denied due process through the petition process. Additionally, the signature comparison process for petitions is actually the same technique used to compare mail-in ballots. Every voter in Leavenworth County should be concerned about this. According to the Secretary of State's office, we also cannot observe the signature process like we can during regular elections. That's a problem also. With SB 40 passed, that puts the onus on local levels. I'll let Kirsten talk.
Thank you. Thank you. All righty. Christian Workman.
My name is Kirsten Workman.
Kirsten, I'm just messing up all the names this morning. I apologize.
All sorts of cases.
Welcome.
Thank you. I timed myself at 5 minutes and 15 seconds. I'm going to try my best to go fast. So good morning. My name is Kirsten Workman. I'm a 6-year resident of Lansing. I work in the city of Leavenworth, and I'm also a member of the Fort Leavenworth community. I'd like you to take a minute to imagine yourself on Election Day, arriving at your designated polling place, ready to cast your vote. You've waited in a long line. You don't mind, though, because this election is particularly important to you. The outcome involves your individual liberty and a fundamental right. You've signed the voter roll and filled out your ballot. Now picture the county election officer present not in her capacity as the elected county clerk, but in the performance of duties as the county election officer chosen and appointed by the Secretary of State. That person stands between you and the ballot box. She takes the ballot from your hand, examines it closely, or let's be honest, maybe not so closely, and then promptly throws your vote in the garbage. She offers no explanation. You see a pile of other ballots in the garbage and ask why they weren't counted, but you're not entitled to an answer or allowed to watch her tabulate the votes. No one else is either. After multiple requests to speak with you, she finally tells you that your vote doesn't count because she alone decided your signature was illegible. Or perhaps she accuses you of trying to vote twice since someone else with the same name voted earlier that day. Or maybe she just tells you you're not registered to vote, even though you are. You've just been canceled. You provide proof that you're a registered voter. The election officer refuses to even examine your proof. You appeal to every elected official and legislative body you know for help. You engage the Secretary of State, the State Attorney General, the County Attorney, and seek private legal counsel. everyone washes their hands of the matter and refers you to one of the other offices. Even though the law clearly states that your vote should have been counted, once the election officer decided that it didn't, there is nothing anyone could do. Intended or not, this type of voter disenfranchisement and abuse of authority is exactly what happened in Leavenworth. Between 7 and 18 signatures were wrongly invalidated by the county election officer in order to silence approximately 700 voters and shield that city commission from being accountable to the people they represent. One could argue that multiple mistakes and perhaps a bit of incompetence contributed to this outcome. However, because we are a community who cares about each other, that's where the grace comes in. And grace was extended many times. But when you make a mistake, you should own it. You don't use your position of public trust and a party affiliation to insulate yourself behind layers of bureaucracy, repeating the same falsehood over and over again until the other side gives up. There is not a doubt in my mind, and this is my opinion, that this petition didn't pass because someone with control or influence didn't want it to. Why else would multiple invalidated signatures later be acknowledged as accepted, yet we still remained 5 signatures short? Why was the petition validating using a different voter roll than the one provided to the circulators? Why is one person in America, why is one person who does not even reside within the city limits the only individual allowed to determine the outcome of a petition affecting those within the city limits? I believe we deserve answers to these questions. With mask mandates fading into the background, you may ask why this issue is still relevant. Let me give you 3 reasons you should care. First, whether or not a signature or a vote counts should not and cannot be decided by one person exercising zero transparency, accountability, or even basic standards of documentation.
Do not mention the name of anybody
I just paused
here.
so that I could correct myself. Don't worry. The county election officer and the county councilor were savvy enough to sign nothing and provide no official documentation of their findings. That is complete.
I think that's enough. That is enough.
It's the truth.
That is your interpretation. That is enough.
This is the
Please show us the documentation.
Go ahead.
Public comment.
Go ahead and finish.
Thank you.
Go ahead and finish. Go ahead.
I believe that's un-American. Flu season is coming. This is the second reason I believe we should care. Factually speaking, the flu is also a deadly pandemic. Leavenworth City voters have stated their expectation is that any future mask mandates be voted on by the people who should be able to rest in the 10 years of protection that their new ordinance provides against tyrannical reversals by elitist elected officials with no regard for sunshine laws or the concept of the consent of the governed. Lastly, this injustice should never happen again in our community or anywhere. The law, as it is currently written in Kansas Election Standards, Chapter 5, titled Petitions, provides clear and adequate guidance on how to validate petition signatures and specifically states those guidelines should be liberally construed in the case of petitions involving fundamental rights. However, this experience reveals gaps in the legislation. Then those gaps should be addressed so as not to hamper future efforts by citizens to legitimately change a law. Since this process is exactly how the county election officer handles mail-in ballots, this should be addressed before the next election. If you would like to see evidence of anything we've stated today, I have it right here for you to look at.
Okay.
We would be delighted to provide you a formal presentation. If you have any ability or influence to write this one, I implore you to do so for the sake of our country.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. You did a good job. Get that in 5 minutes. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, Mr. Clem.
Maybe we ought to talk about elections. I'll give this. Don't start the time yet because I'm not talking yet.
Oh, you're talking.
You're talking.
David here. And 1, 2.
I got one.
You got yours?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. I thought it was interesting. I was listening there. You said something about Zoom. I don't know what Zoom is. Zoom was done by the Cadillacs back in the 50s. It was a song, so I don't know what this Zoom thing is. I think it's rather interesting that there's a lack, because government has gotten so big, there's a lack of transparency in all government. And it's a shame because just like the last time I was here was on the museums, and the museums are on a roll, and I would hope that the county, and I noticed the city of Leavenworth did, let's try to take over 2 museums and make this the major industry of the first city of Kansas. The thing that was bothering me mainly today was a lawsuit that has recently taken place. Well, I guess it started in 2017. First of all, if it hadn't been turned over to the Attorney General of Kansas, it would have been solved way earlier. It was turned over, and it goes from there to find a retired judge who wants to supplement his income, I guess, and he takes over, and it goes on and on. But back in 2018, this judge did make a good decision. He said that the county could go after Sue on this lawsuit. Don't want to mention any names because everybody gets uptight. You can sue over anything. But that we could go after the funds that it has cost us. Transparency, we don't know what the lawsuit did. The insurance company made the decision. We elect you people, and all of a sudden we have an insurance company telling us what we're going to do. I think that it's a total shame. We have the most important thing out there that has never been settled. How much information did the lawsuitee, or what we want to call that person, how much did she take from the county? Has it been returned? Has it not been returned? I don't know. I, as a taxpayer, and a significant taxpayer, would like to know that. That is a very important situation that should have been resolved. So we give this lawsuitee, that's a new word, that could be a woke word, I guess. Everything's going to be woke anymore. I did that this morning, but I had an A before it that was called A-woke. I woke, got up. But there are things that needed to be resolved, and it wasn't to pay, I don't know what it was, transparency, $200,000, $250,000, $230,000. I don't know. You guys may know. But we out here who hire you to do the job, we don't know. Well, there's some kind of legal aspect here that somebody says, we don't want anybody to know because they shouldn't know. They're not, I don't know, are we not smart enough? I think we're smart enough to know what the insurance company is doing. They've taken the easy way out. The insurance companies do that because they're going to raise your rates next year. That's all it'll be. I'm up to $39,000 for my stupid little business. So, how far do we go with this? Well, you look at paying off your debt, and then you don't have to carry anything but liability. Isn't that a heck of a way to go through life? So I would appreciate somewhere if somebody would solve this situation for the taxpayer, because he did say we could go after rates, and it did say that this individual, this lawsuitee, as I say, that's an official word now, I registered it under woke, that that person can sue again. She come back, or it can come back, I shouldn't say she. We don't know whether it's a she, a he, or an it. Can come back and sue indefinitely. And I did appreciate the fact that the judge did make maybe one good decision, maybe made 2, maybe made 3. But I think it's time to come forward, a little transparency, rule out the legal aspect of what lawyer's going to tell you. Because if it hadn't gone to the judge, I don't think we would have been in this position. But here again, we have elected officials that don't want to carry the weight of making the decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Clem.
And you have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we're down to, is there anything else from the commission? Mike? Anybody?
Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Yeah, we
we had a very good discussion at the town hall meeting. I had between 30 and 40 people there, and it was got a lot of issues out on the table, and also informed them of what the road, the progress on roads in the county has been. So it was very good, and we are working on transparency. I think that's all of us.
How much more transparent can we be with our meetings live?
Anything else?
Absolutely, and Commissioner Smith, you're the one that got that started.
Mike, anything else?
Nope, it's beautiful mountain.
Okay. Enjoy yourself. Vicki? Doug, you have anything else?
No, sir.
I get a motion.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
He's already
Aye.
aye. Okay.
Very well.
Good cause.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.